you really want to finish this together, just know that I do not trust you. At all. Ever.
Welcome to Mr. Screen. After the events of WandaVision, showing all the relationship between her and Agatha Harkness with witchcraft, we were able to see many changes in the story, especially after the arrest or rather death of the Scarlet Witch. However, the events of Agatha all along brought many mysteries, and now I will bring you the story of the return of the Scarlet Witch based on these events. After the cataclysmic events of the Multiverse of Madness, the death of Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch, brought temporary peace to the multiverse. With her departure, the threat she represented, capable of destroying realities, seemed to have been controlled. However, in the depths of Westview, something dark still stirred, trapped within a complex spell. Agatha Harkness, who had been subdued by Wanda and imprisoned in a mundane form, waited patiently. Her mind, still sharp and full of ancient secrets, felt a tension in the fabric of reality. Something was changing. Agatha's liberation. With each passing day, Agatha's consciousness grew clear. The spell that had bound her as a simple citizen of Westview was slowly weakening, as the power Wanda had channeled was dissipating. Wanda's death had broken the bond that held the spell impenetrable. One night, while alone, Agatha felt a surge of energy. It was unmistakable, a crack in the enchantment. With a cry of pure determination, she broke free, her powers flooding the room with an aura of darkness. The sorceress was back, her powers restored. The sense of freedom brought a cruel smile to her face. Now, everything is about to change, she whispered to herself. Agatha knew that the magical world had been in disarray since Wanda's death. The balance between the forces of life and death had been compromised. And there was one key piece that remained: Wanda's sons, Billy and Tommy. The return of Billy and Tommy Maximoff. Even after Wanda's downfall, echoes of her sons, Billy and Tommy, still existed in the cracks between realities. They were no mere illusions. They had become independent entities, wandering the edges of the multiverse, searching for answers and for their mother. Agatha felt their presence, a distant drumbeat in the fabric of magic. She searched for them, knowing that their power could hold the key to shaping the coming events. When she finally found them, Billy and Tommy had grown into teenagers, their magical and mutant abilities growing exponentially. Billy, also known as Wiccan, had similar power to his mother, while Tommy, with his gifts of speed, was becoming more and more like his uncle Pietro. They both eyed Agatha suspiciously. "You again," Billy said, narrowing his eyes. "What do you want?" "I didn't come here to fight," Agatha replied, raising her hands. "You have power. More than you know. And I'm the only one who can help you understand what's about to happen." Tommy crossed his arms, suspicious. "What's about to happen? You felt it, didn't you? The imbalance? Your mother's death wasn't the end. There are forces that want to exploit that weakness. The entity of death is lurking, and its interest in you runs deeper than you realize." Billy stepped forward, his eyes gleaming with magical energy. "And why should we trust you? You tried to control our mother." Agatha smiled darkly. "Because whether you like it or not, Wanda's death has created a rift in the universe. And if we don't act quickly, something much worse is about to happen." The formation of the new coven. Reluctantly, Billy and Tommy agreed to work with Agatha, knowing that their own powers were connected to their mother's fate. Together, they traveled to mystical places around the world, ancient sites of power that Agatha knew well. She guided them to other witches and wizards who still existed in the shadows, surviving the ages. These practitioners of the occult would form the core of a new coven, dedicated to balancing the magical forces now out of control. However, the entity of death, a dark, imposing figure who personified the very end of existence, began to take a particular interest in the movements of Agatha and the Maximoff siblings. The entity knew that Billy and Tommy were essential to the future of the multiverse, and their control over life and death made them dangerous. One night under a full moon, during an ancient ritual, the entity of death appeared before the new coven. Its form hovered in the shadows, its eyes glowing with undeniable power. "You dare to tamper with the balance of life and death," it hissed. "You who do not understand the true price of magic." Billy stepped forward, the fear in his eyes replaced by determination. "My mother died for this. I will not let all her sacrifices be in vain." The entity smiled. "Wanda Maximoff still lives, deep within the cracks of reality. But if I intervene, I can bring her back for a price. The battle against Death. Agatha knew that the entity of Death was only manipulating Billy and Tommy. Its true intention was to use the chaos to rewrite the laws of the multiverse. The battle began with an explosion of magic. Agatha and the new coven fought valiantly, conjuring spells to repel Death, but the entity was too powerful. Every blow struck against it seemed to be absorbed by the void itself. Billy, with his mystical abilities in full force, tried to channel the energy of chaos, the same energy his mother used. Tommy used his speed to dodge the dark attacks. However, the entity was only buying time, preparing the ground for the true collapse of the barriers of reality. Agatha realized this too late. With a deafening scream, Death unleashed her scythe, slicing through the lines of the multiverse and unleashing a wave of energy that shattered space-time. Realities began to collide, and from one of the fissures, a familiar figure emerged. Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch, was back. Wanda's return. Wanda was no longer the same. After her supposed death, she had transcended. Her eyes glowed with utter chaos, and her presence caused fissures in the fabric of reality around her. She looked at Agatha, Billy, Tommy, and the entity of Death, comprehending all that had transpired in her absence. "I see you've tried to play with death," Wanda said, her voice reverberating with power. Billy and Tommy ran toward their mother, but something in them changed as they approached. Wanda held out her hands, and the brothers felt their power being absorbed by her. It was as if Wanda was merging with the last of her energies, amplifying her own strength. "I'm chaos," Wanda said, as the entity of Death tried to confront her. But Death herself hesitated. Wanda's power had grown so much that even the immortal entity seemed intimidated. With a single gesture, Wanda broke the chains of reality that kept her trapped between worlds. "You called me back, and now I decide the fate of the multiverse." The rise of the Scarlet Witch. With Wanda resurrected and her power increased, the multiverse was on the brink of collapse. Agatha, Billy, and Tommy, along with the new coven, tried to prevent the impending destruction, but Wanda had become something beyond their comprehension. The battle between Wanda and the entity of Death continued, as the multiverse distorted and realities merged. The Avengers and other heroes began to feel the impact of Wanda's actions, and the fate of all realities hung in the balance. The end was nigh, and only the Scarlet Witch could decide whether she would be the destroyer or the savior of the multiverse. The beginning of Judgment Day. When Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch, reached the height of her power, she was no longer just a mutant or a common sorceress. She had become a primordial force of chaos, with the ability to reshape reality at her whim. Her actions were no longer bound by morality or reason. Wanda now saw all realities as fragments of a vast puzzle that she could rearrange or destroy at will. With a single thought, Wanda began to alter reality in radical and unpredictable ways. The once blue sky became a blur of red and black. The stars flickered frantically, as if the heavens themselves were collapsing. Entire cities disappeared in the blink of an eye, while others appeared out of nowhere, like relics of civilizations lost millennia ago. One moment, Earth's advanced technology was replaced by a medieval setting. The next, all living things were turned to dust. Timelines began to overlap. Alternate realities that had previously been only remote possibilities began to collide with the main timeline. Heroes and villains who had died in one reality came back to life in another, but they were not the same. Many of them did not even recognize their former allies. Wanda, watching the chaos she was creating, showed no regret, only a strange satisfaction. To those who could see beyond the destruction, it was clear that Wanda had initiated Doomsday, the total collapse of all realities. This was her version of an apocalypse, a world where everything could be remade or erased at will. The Earth, the heroes, and even the fundamental laws of the universe were all in her hands. The resistance of the Avengers and mutants. As the chaos spread, those who were still alive tried to react to what was happening. The Avengers, now led by Sam Wilson, were in a panic. The world was falling apart around them, and they didn't know how to combat something as absolute as reality itself disintegrating. "This is unlike any threat we've faced before," Sam said, his voice thick with concern as he looked up at the sky, where night and day alternated in seconds. "We need a plan. We can't just watch as the world falls apart." Beside him were some of the most powerful mutants, including Billy and Tommy Maximoff, who now, aware that their own mother was behind the destruction, felt a mixture of fear and guilt. The brothers knew that Wanda, in her current state, would not be easily stopped. She's using pure chaos, Billy said, a dark glint in his eyes. Everything she does is unpredictable. There's no way of knowing what will happen next. As they discussed their options, another unexpected group joined the resistance. Agatha Harkness and the witches and wizards of her new coven. Once an adversary, Agatha now understood that the only way to save the world was to join forces with the remaining heroes. I know Wanda's limits, and even at the height of her power, she can be stopped, but it will require a force greater than anything you have ever faced. At that moment, a flash of light split the sky, and a portal to another dimension opened. From it emerged none other than Stephen Strange, Doctor Strange. His eyes were dark, his expression grim. He had sensed the imbalance of the multiverse from afar, and knew that the situation was far more dire than anything he had faced before. I should have seen it coming, he said, his voice thick with guilt. Wanda's death was not an end, but the beginning of something far worse. Now, she has become a force beyond anyone's control. The battle against Wanda. Strange was not alone. He had summoned allies from alternate realities, different versions of heroes who had fallen into his own universe. Together, with the Avengers and mutants from the main Earth, they prepared a coordinated attack. The objective was not only to defeat Wanda, but to try to neutralize her power before she caused the complete destruction of the multiverse. The conflict began in what was left of New York City, now a chaotic battlefield where time and space were warped. Structures dissolved and reappeared, and the ground shook with the impact of the colliding powers. Wanda was at the center of it all, floating above the chaos, her eyes glowing with the energy of pure chaos. The heroes attacked in waves, Strange leading the charge with powerful spells. Sam Wilson, as the new Captain America, led the ground attack, trying to distract Wanda with the support of the Avengers. The mutants, including Billy and Tommy, also used their powers to create gaps in Wanda's defenses. But nothing seemed to be enough. Each attack they launched against her was either reversed, absorbed, or transformed into a new wave of destruction. The Scarlet Witch was beyond mortal limits. "Do you really think you can stop me?" Wanda asked, her voice reverberating throughout the battlefield. "I am chaos. I am the beginning and the end of all things." And then, with a single gesture, she destroyed half the army that was coming against her, erasing lives in an instant. The arrival of the entity of death. Amidst the destruction, a familiar presence materialized. The entity of death, now attracted by the magnitude of the chaos Wanda was creating, appeared on the battlefield. Its presence caused reality around it to temporarily stabilize, as if the universe itself were hesitating in its destruction. "It has been a long time since I have witnessed such great power," said Death, watching Wanda with interest. "You have brought me here, Witch, and now is the time to decide. Do you truly wish to destroy everything, or merely reshape existence to your will?" Wanda looked at Death, her expression unreadable. "I don't need permission," she whispered. "I will create a new multiverse, without limitations, without pain." Death gave her an enigmatic smile. "But even in chaos, there are limits. And now, the time has come for you to make your choice. Be the creator, or the destroyer." In that moment of hesitation, Billy and Tommy realized that this might be their only chance. They channeled all their power into one final attack, while Stephen Strange conjured a powerful barrier to temporarily imprison Wanda. The attack was enough to weaken her momentarily, and Death reached out. "Enchantress, your power may transcend chaos, but there are consequences to every action. Choose the end or the beginning." Wanda stood still, considering for a moment. The realities around her were still collapsing, but now with Death present, there was a chance for balance. She looked at her sons, Billy and Tommy, and felt the weight of her choice. "I have caused so much pain," Wanda said softly. "Maybe it is time to stop." And with a final gesture, she dissolved the chaos energy that surrounded her. The destruction ceased. The barriers between realities began to close, and the multiverse slowly returned to balance. But the cost had been high. Many heroes had fallen, and the world that remained was irreversibly altered. Wanda, exhausted and desolate, fell to her knees. "I am so sorry." Death, now satisfied, slowly retreated into the shadows. "You have made your choice, Enchantress. But remember, chaos will always find a way back." The future of the multiverse. With Wanda weakened and the multiverse restored, the survivors began to rebuild what was left. However, the impact of Doomsday still echoed through the cosmos. The Avengers and the mutants regrouped, knowing that the balance of reality remained fragile. But most of all, everyone knew that chaos, although temporarily contained, still lived within Wanda Maximoff. And somewhere in the distance, the next collapse was always lurking. The multiverse would never be the same again. The rebirth of shadows. Darkness stretched over the New York skyline. The city, still recovering from the battle with Thanos, seemed calm, but something sinister was beginning to move in the shadows. After Tony Stark's sacrifice, the universe enjoyed an uncertain peace. The billionaire genius who had given his life to defeat the Mad Titan and restore order was now a legend, an icon for all humanity. However, in a hidden dimension of reality, forces that no hero could foresee were working to bring Stark back, but not as the hero everyone knew. Victor Von Doom, the tyrannical ruler of Latveria and master of the arcane arts, watched the flow of time and reality closely. He knew that Stark's sacrifice had left a gap in the cosmos, an imbalance he could exploit. Doom didn't just want power, he wanted absolute supremacy, and for that he needed more than his own genius. He needed Tony Stark's mind and body. With an arcane ritual and the manipulation of technological forces that only Doom could understand, he achieved the impossible. Tony Stark was brought back to life, but he was not the same man who had once saved the universe. He was possessed by something far more evil. Doom had transferred his very essence into Stark, merging with him. Now they were one. Doom Stark had been born, a fusion of two of the most intelligent and dangerous men on the planet, but with one purpose: destruction. The return of the Avengers. Meanwhile, the new Avengers, led by Sam Wilson, the new Captain America, continued to protect the world after Thanos' fall. The team, made up of heroes such as Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier, Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch, Peter Parker, Spider-Man, and Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel, faced new global threats. But nothing could prepare them for what was to come. On a seemingly ordinary morning, an emergency signal began to sound in Avengers Tower. Sam Wilson was the first to respond, verifying the alert. "Captain, you're going to want to see this," Bucky said, watching the monitor screens. What they saw was something they didn't want to believe. Tony Stark had been spotted in Latveria, the country ruled by Doom, but something was terribly wrong. His movements were cold, calculated, and his eyes, they weren't the eyes of the hero they knew. "This can't be real." "Tony's dead," Sam said, trying to rationalize what he saw. Wanda, with her mystical powers, sensed something disturbing in Stark's presence. "It's not just Tony. Something's wrong. I scent darkness." The Avengers immediately prepared to investigate. If there was any chance that Tony Stark was alive, they needed to find out what was happening. But none of them were prepared for the true terror that awaited them. Doom Stark reveals himself. When the Avengers arrived in Latveria, the silence was eerie. The streets were deserted, and Doom's fortress was shrouded in an aura of mystery and power. As they entered the castle, they were greeted by a familiar yet completely unfamiliar figure. "Tony," Sam Wilson called out hopefully. But the answer that came was cold and devoid of any humanity. Tony Stark is no more. Only Doom Stark remains. He appeared before them, a mix of his iconic Iron Man armor and Doom's arcane elements. A dark glow radiated from his eyes, and his presence was overwhelming. Doom had achieved what he had always wanted. The limitless power of Stark's mind and his own magic combined into a force that not even the Avengers could match. "You were fools to think you could rule this world without me. Now you will see the true apocalypse," Doom Stark declared, his voice ringing with an authority that made even the most powerful Avengers hesitate. Before they could react, Doom Stark struck. In one swift, devastating move, he unleashed a blast of energy that struck straight at Sam and Bucky, knocking them back with brutal force. Carol Danvers attempted to retaliate with all her cosmic might, but Doom Stark blocked her attack with ease, channeling his own energy and knocking it away. The battle was short and brutal. Despite all their efforts, the Avengers were defeated one by one. Sam fell to his knees trying to get up, but before he could react, Doom Stark lifted him by the neck. "You are not worthy to carry this shield," he said, throwing Sam to the ground with contempt. With the Avengers defeated, Doom Stark rose as the new global threat. He had only shown a fraction of his power, and now nothing seemed capable of stopping him. The beginning of Doomsday. Doom Stark began his campaign for world domination. Using the vast network of technology Stark had created, combined with Doom's magic, he began to transform the planet in his image. Each city fell under his rule, one by one. Doom Stark used drones and weapons of mass destruction to control the population, while his mystical powers protected him from any resistance. Meanwhile, Sam Wilson, Bucky, and the other surviving Avengers tried to regroup. They knew they were facing an enemy unlike any before. Tony Stark had been the heart of the team, the man with the solutions, and now he was Doom's most lethal weapon. Sam, still feeling the weight of his shield, wondered if he was ready for this fight. How can we defeat the man who has always had the answer to everything? He wondered aloud. Wanda, though wounded, offered a grim answer. We have to destroy him. There is no other way. Tony is gone. All that's left is Doom. Reluctantly, Sam knew she was right. If there was any chance of saving the world, they would have to end Doom Stark, no matter the cost. The Resistance and the revelation as Doom Stark prepared to deliver the final blow. The Avengers discovered a crucial clue. Using Tony's old files, they discovered that there was a backup program built into Stark's armor, a safeguard Tony had created in case his technology became corrupted. This could be the key to defeating Doom. Sam, Wanda, Bucky, and the others hatched a desperate plan. They knew they didn't have the power to face Doom Stark directly, but if they could activate the safeguard, they could disable his systems and weaken Doom enough to destroy him. The final battle was about to begin. They knew this might be their last mission, but they were prepared to risk everything. The desperate plan, the Avengers knew they didn't have much time. Doom Stark was expanding his control over the world at an alarming rate. Entire cities were falling under his rule, and the already weakened resistance was crumbling. Sam Wilson, Captain America's shield in hand, gathered the team together to discuss their plan. We have to find the hidden base where Tony kept his latest secret project, Sam said, taking a deep breath. If we can activate the safeguard, we might have a chance to take Doom Stark down from the inside. If Stark designed this, then it's flawed. Even with Doom in control, Bucky replied, agreeing with the strategy. But the question is, where can we find it? Wanda Maximoff closed her eyes, feeling Tony's residual energy. Using her mystical powers, she tried to connect to the old Stark, to the memory of him that still resided in the frequencies of the technology he had created. I can sense something in the old Avengers Tower, she murmured. There's an energy there hidden. If we can get there, maybe we'll find what we need. The group agreed, and despite their wounds from the last battle, they set off for New York, where the Avengers Tower, now in ruins, hid what could be humanity's last hope. Doom's trap. What the Avengers didn't know was that Doom Stark was one step ahead. As they made their way to Avengers Tower, Doom Stark watched over them through his advanced surveillance networks. He had anticipated that they would try Stark's latest trick, and instead of blocking their access, he lured them right into his trap. Inside the tower, the surroundings seemed desolate, but familiar. Sam led the way, followed closely by Bucky and Wanda. The once vibrant hallways were now dusty and empty, but the tension was palpable. Something doesn't feel right, Sam said, stopping in his tracks. Suddenly, a voice echoed through the building. Do you really think you can stop me? Do you think you can use Tony Stark's creations against me? The voice of Doom Stark, a fusion of Doom and Tony, rang out cold and cruel. I am more than just Stark or Doom. I am something far beyond your understanding. Before they could react, the walls around them lit up with holograms and technological traps. Invisible drones appeared from the ceiling, firing energy beams. Sam raised his shield, blocking the attacks, while Wanda conjured a magical barrier to protect the group. The trap has been sprung, Bucky shouted, running for cover. Wanda used her powers to destroy some of the drones, but there were too many. They were surrounded and with no way out. Doom Stark appeared on the screens around him, watching them with a superior gaze. You were fools to think you could fool me, he sneered, as the Avengers were pushed deeper and deeper into the tower. But since you've come this far, let's see how far you can get. The safeguard revealed. Amidst the chaos of the battle inside the tower, Sam managed to reach the control center. It was there that Tony had stored his last secret. Bucky and Wanda were struggling to keep the drones at bay, but Doom Stark was increasing the intensity of the attacks. It seemed impossible to get out of this situation alive. Sam, sweat dripping down his face, began to fiddle with the consoles. Come on, Stark. Let this work, he muttered as he tried to access the system. Suddenly, a soft light shone on the screen. Tony Stark's image appeared for a brief moment, like a pre-recorded hologram. It was a final message from Stark. If you're seeing this, then things have gone terribly wrong, Tony's hologram said. Doom has taken control. but I saw this coming. There's a flaw in the armor he's wearing, one that can only be activated from within. If you can disable the arcane energy source Doom used to merge with me, you might have a chance to free me, or at least finish him off. Sam breathed a sigh of relief, but reality soon set in again. They still needed to find the energy core that powered Doom Stark. And to do that, they would have to face the enemy head-on. We have a chance, Sam said, looking at the others. But we have to act now. The final battle. With Tony's information, the Avengers set out to confront Doom Stark in his fortress. It was their last stand: defeat Doom or watch the world be transformed into a hell ruled by their new supremacy. When they arrived at the fortress, Doom Stark was already waiting for them, atop an imposing platform, with an army of drones surrounding him. "Do you really think you can stop me with such a pathetic trick?" Doom Stark said, his voice thick with arrogance. The battle began, and it soon became clear that Doom Stark was on another level. Each of the Avengers gave their best, but none could penetrate his defense. Sam tried to use his shield to destabilize Doom, while Wanda attacked with magic, but Doom blocked every blow with a wave of his hand. "You are nothing without Stark," he declared, launching a wave of energy that threw everyone back. But at the last second, Bucky managed to activate the device Sam had found. A pulse of energy spread through the fortress, and for a brief moment, Doom Stark found himself weakened. The arcane runes he had used to merge with Tony began to waver. "No," Sam shouted, rushing toward Doom. With a precise strike, he struck the energy core in Doom Stark's chest, and for an instant, the fusion between Doom and Stark began to crumble. Doom's essence fought to maintain control, but Tony Stark, even in the depths of his own mind, resisted. Doom Stark fell to his knees, screaming in fury, "You cannot defeat me." But with a final effort, Wanda channeled her magic to destroy the arcane connections that powered Doom. The fusion between Doom and Tony finally broke, and Doom was separated from Stark, his body destroyed by the energy released. Tony, now freed, collapsed to the ground, exhausted and powerless. He looked up at the Avengers, his former allies. "I'm sorry," he muttered, before losing consciousness. The unknown of the multiverse. With Doom defeated and Tony Stark rescued, the world began to recover. The Avengers, led by Sam Wilson, finally managed to avoid the global catastrophe that Doom Stark had planned. But Tony, the moment he regains consciousness, hears a voice again in his mind. "We are one. We are Doom." That's our story for today. What do you believe about it? Will Doom Stark bring the end of the entire multiverse? Don't forget to leave a comment with your opinion, click the like button, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any videos. I'm Mr. Screen and see you soon. Bye.